I'd be glad to take any questions that you might have. I came here to accept the full responsibility for what I've done. I am deeply regretting what I have done, and I am not resigning. I have made it clear that I accept responsibility for this, and people who draw conclusions about me are free to do so. I've worked for the people of my district for 13 years and in politics for 20 years, and I hope that they see fit to see this in the light that it is, which is a deeply regrettable mistake.
Congressman, why do you draw the distinction between being protected or treated before you were married and after you were married? You're still a member of Congress beforehand. Do you think it would be appropriate before you were married?
I think it is more inappropriate things that I have done since I'm married. My primary sense of regret and my primary apology goes to my wife. I should not have done this, and I should not have done this, particularly when I was married. That's why I make that distinction.
Why would you do this after you're married? You know it's wrong. The question people, your constituents, and a lot of us have is, what were you thinking?
You know, I don't know what I was thinking. This was a destructive thing to do. I'm apologetic for doing it. It was deeply, deeply hurtful to the people I care about the most. It was something that I did that was just wrong, and I regret it.
Did you use government resources for this kind of activity? And if so, is that a violation of the public trust?
I did not.
You didn't use a congressional phone, congressional email, on congressional time?
No, I didn't do... Listen, I'm going to try to tell you everything that I can remember. Was my Blackberry is not a government Blackberry. My home computer is usually where I did these things. I don't have a knowledge of every last communication, but I don't believe that I used any government resources.
Andrew Breitbart was standing where you're standing not more than 20 minutes ago, and implied that he had an X-rated photo of you. Can you say that is not true?
No, I cannot. I regret not being honest about this. This was a big mistake I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. I'm still to this moment. I was trying to protect my wife. I was trying to protect myself from shame. It was a mistake, and I really regret it. This was a mistake, and I'm very sorry for it, and I take it seriously. But I am, and where I go from here and what steps I take it seriously. That this was a destructive thing to do that I deeply regret.
Congressman, your wife is not here. Are you going to split up with your wife because of this?
I love my wife very much.
Are you going to split up?
I love my wife very much, and we have no intention of splitting up over this. We have been through a great deal together, and we will weather this. I love her very much, and she loves me.
Where is she? Sir, where is she?
Are they constituents, or are they, where they are?
These are generally, in some cases, I initiated them. They're generally women that I met on Facebook.
Do you have anything to say to Andrew Breitbart?
I'm deeply apologetic, first and foremost, to my wife, to the many people that put so much faith and confidence in me, that watched me make this terrible mistake. But everyone that I misled, everyone in the media, my staff, the people that I lied to about this, they all deserve an apology.
But after Chris Bragg, after Eliot Spitzer, why the decision to do such a thing, especially as a member of public office?
This was a very dumb thing to do, and it was a destructive thing to do. But it wasn't part of any plan to be hurtful to my wife. It wasn't part of a plan to be deceitful to you. It wasn't part of a plan to be... It wasn't part of a plan. It was a destructive thing that I did that I accept responsibility for. But if you're looking for some kind of deep explanation for it, I simply don't have one, except that I'm sorry.
When Chris Lee sent that photo and was caught and had to resign, did that make you stop and think maybe I shouldn't be doing this because I could be caught next? Did that ever go through your mind?
I didn't think of it that way. I would think about, from time to time, I would say to myself, this is a mistake, or this conversation someone could listen in on or translate to someone else. I know that there is the sense that everything is part of a plan, and it was thought through and calculated. In this case, it was just me doing a very dumb thing, and for that I accept the responsibility. Yeah, sure. I didn't see any of the pictures that were released today. I can tell you that there were some women that I had conversations with that the inappropriate things were sent by me, and I accept responsibility for that. Look, the last thing on this day, when I have done this harm to my wife and my family, that I'm standing before all of you and accepting responsibility for this shameful thing, is thinking about next year's election or the election after that. The first thing I need to do is make sure that obviously this never ever happens again, and that I make it up to my wife and to my family and to all the people that I've harmed here. I have not, I'm going to try to handle this, and I haven't ruled out perhaps seeing someone, but I'm not blaming anyone. This is not something that can be treated away. This is my own personal mistake. This is not something, this is a weakness, a deep weakness that I have demonstrated, and for that I apologize.
And you're not sure about the time that you sent these pictures? How long this has gone on?
Some of these relationships, some date back as I think much as 3 years.
Congressman, when did you realize that what you were saying wasn't true and that you couldn't stick with your original story that you had to come out here today?
Almost from the moment that I, when you say something like that that's so wrong, I was embarrassed, and I didn't want it to lead to other embarrassing things, and it was a dumb thing to do, to try to tell lies about it, because it just led to more lies. But almost immediately after I said the lie, I knew that I was putting people in a very bad position, and I didn't want to continue doing it. Excuse me?
Did any of these women ever ask you for anything in exchange for not coming forward with Blackberry coming forward?
No.
Megan Broussard, one of the women?
Megan Broussard was one of the women.
When did you tell your wife?
My wife has known about some of these online relationships since before we were married, and we spoke frankly about them because, we spoke frankly about them. But she didn't know until this morning that I had not been telling the truth about whether I posted the Twitter posting last week.
What do you say to Andrew Breitbart, who was accused of hacking your account by many left-wing blogs, and people on CNN even? What do you say to them?
Well, I'm here primarily to express my apologies to my wife and family, but anyone who was misled, all of you who were misled, people who I lied to, I have an apology for all of them.
But not specifically for him, not an apology?
If I believe that I believe that everyone deserves an apology here, and I certainly am. I'm certain. I'll be. Here's what.
Where's your wife right now, sir?
I apologize to Andrew Breitbart. I apologize to the many other members of the media that I misled. I apologize first and foremost to my wife and to my family.
Where is she right now? Where is she right now?
She is not here.
Where is she?
To get involved in this activity, were you lonesome? Were you alone a lot?
I don't have. That's no. I have a loving wife. It's not anything like that. I treated it as a frivolous thing, not acknowledging that it was causing harm to so many people and would eventually come out. Yes, sir. I spoke briefly to Leader Pelosi before I came over here. She said to be truthful, and she said to say what you know, and was thankful that I was doing that today. She was not happy. Told me as much. My primary apology, as I've said several times, is to my wife Huma, but she made it very clear that she thought what I did was very dumb, and she was not happy about it. but she also, and she's very disappointed, and she also told me that she loved me and wanted us to pull through this.
You said you used Halifax, sir.
I'm sorry, sir.
You a sex addict? Did you describe yourself as such?
I did a regrettable thing, and for that I apologize.
You said you were on the phone. Did you have phone sex with these women? Did you ever have an affair with one of these women?
I've never, as I've said in my statement, I never met any of these women.
Did you have phone sex?
I never was in the same room with them. I was never had any physical relationship whatsoever. I am reluctant for their privacy, and since their names are coming out, of characterizing our exchanges, except that they were consensual. But I'm not going to rebut anything or dispute anything that any of the women that have come forward and said. They have every right to do so, and so I'm not going to make any efforts to characterize those conversations.
Is it an abuse of your oath of office to do this while if you may not have used the congressional phone and congressional email, but to do it on congressional time as a congressman? Have you?
Well, I mean, the congressional time could theoretically be anything. Congressmen work long hours, but I don't believe that I did anything here that violates any law or violates my oath to my constituents. What I did was something that demonstrated a very deep personal failing, and that's why I'm here to apologize.
Aside from the tweets that you say and the photos that exist, is there any other type of behavior that in the privacy, what you thought was privacy, you conducted as a Congress member that you could be ashamed of? Is there anything, have you solicited or engaged with any service of women or anything else?
No, I've never had sex outside my marriage, and I've done these things, and I regret them. But I've never done anything that you described, and I don't know where else to get it. I'm not making any excuses for my behavior. I don't do drugs. I was not drinking. That wasn't the cause of this. This was me doing a dumb thing and doing it repeatedly and then lying about it. And that's all there is. I'm here to accept responsibility for this. I'm not asking to shift the blame to anyone else or to any external force or anything else. I did. I didn't speak to her. We exchanged some text messages, mostly for me to express my abject apologies for how she got dragged into this. No, but yes, we had exchanged some perfunctory direct messages, but there wasn't. We had never spoken. I have not, and I just look. My wife is a remarkable woman. She's not responsible for any of this. This was visited upon her. She's getting back to work, and I apologize to her very deeply.
Congressman, how many constituents?
We'll have to make that determination. I mean, I'm here to express my apologies. I'm here to take responsibility. But beyond that, look, my constituents have to make the determination. If it's up to them. If they believe that this is something that means that they don't want to vote for me, I'm going to work very hard to win back their trust and to try to persuade them that this is a personal failing of mine, that I've worked very hard for my constituents for a very long time, very long hours, and that nothing about this should reflect in any way on my official duties or on my oath of office. I'm sorry, sir? I'll leave that for people to... I certainly use bad judgment here, that's for sure. And if someone wants to draw that conclusion, I can't stop them. I'm here to accept responsibility for some very bad decisions.
These were young girls, very young, at 21 years old. Does that bother you? That the young
I don't know the exact ages of the women, and they... I don't know the exact ages of the women, and I don't know if you do. I'm going to respect their privacy, but they were all adults. At least to the best of my knowledge, they were all adults, and they were engaging in these conversations consensually.
But if you don't know how old they are, how do you know they're adults?
Well, all I know is what they publish about themselves in social media. Someone could theoretically have been fibbing about it, and that's a risk.
Anyone in your staff prejudice these women alive for you?
No.
Congressman, are you surprised by the reaction?
No.
Congressman, are you surprised by the reaction that your colleagues have had about this issue? There's been a deafening silence from members of the New York delegation and other people who have not stepped forward while you were trying to claim your innocence.
Look, I wasn't telling the truth. I had done something that was dishonorable. I had lied. I don't begrudge anyone for not leaping to my defense in that circumstance. This was, this isn't anyone else's fault. This isn't anyone else didn't demonstrate their bad judgment or their mistakes. This was me. I did it, and I take responsibility for that, and I'm not looking to point blame or share responsibility with anyone.
So what's your next step in rebuilding the trust of your voters in the district?
Well, I'm going to go back to work, and I'm going to try to convince them that this was a personal failing that is an aberration from which I've learned. And all I can do is just keep doing what I've done, which is work very hard every day. There wasn't anything about this I would say that changes my ability or my record of getting bills passed or filling potholes or fulfilling community service. This was a personal failing, and I hope that they see it that way. And I don't begrudge them. If they see it as such a personal failing, they wouldn't vote for me. That's their decision, and I'm going to have to work very hard.
Congressman, members of Democratic leadership called on Mark Foley and called on Chrisley to resign. Do you see any hypocrisy in the fact that you've not been called on to resign? Do you see any distinction between their two situations and yours?
Well, I don't want to get into anyone else's situation, but I can tell you about mine, and it's one that I regret, that didn't have to do with my government service per se and had to do with a personal weakness. But, people can draw their own conclusions about that. But I'm not resigning, and I'm going to try very hard to go back to work a better person and a better man, and I'm going to try to be a better husband, too.
Can you explain what led to today?
She was very unhappy. She was very disappointed, and she told me as much. And she also said that she loved me and said we were going to get through this, but she deserves much better than this, and I know that.
Can you explain what led to today? Why here? Why come out now and say it? What was the process leading up to now?
Well, look, my primary concern about the entire incident to begin with was my concern about some of these relationships that I had becoming public. And it seems that what I had done by denying the original action had only served to make things worse and only served to lead to people being asked longer, tougher questions. It is really true that the smarter, better thing to do would just be to tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may, even if they came to this place. And that was a mistake, and that's why I'm here.
Social media is a
characterize a bit what you did. Did you cheat? Was this a frat boy antic? Are you addicted to online?
I'll leave it to someone else. I mean, all I can do is give you the facts as I've laid out in my statement. I know I never met these women, and I know I never really had much desire to, and to me it was almost a frivolous exchange among friends that I don't think I made an important enough distinction about how hurtful it was and how inappropriate it was, and I certainly do.
Social media is a realm where certitude, as you say, is not something that you can rely on. How do you know that these women are not underage, or these women are not truthful about their own self?
Of course, no one ever knows that, but I know that I never had any intention of having any interaction with underage women, and no information that I have now shows that I did. But yes, whenever you engage with anyone, and that's always true in social media, that you're relying upon their characterizations, and I took them at those characterizations.
They tell you they were 21 is young enough.
Are you at all concerned about any action being taken against you?
Look, I am sorry, and I continue to be, but I don't see anything that I did that violated any rules of the House. I don't see anything that I did that certainly violated my oath of office to uphold the Constitution. I engaged in inappropriate online conversations with people that included, photographs, and it was a mistake to do that. But I don't believe that I did anything that violates any law or any rule.
Were you worried that you were going to get caught at some point?
I didn't.
Was that part of the appeal of it?
No, I didn't have the sense that they were complete strangers. These were people that I had developed relationships with online, and I believe that we had become friends. But that was clearly a mistake, and I clearly regret that.
Young enough to be your daughters.
Yes. Yes. No, we had. I mean, I don't know her, and I still don't really know her. She was a follower who we had cursory direct message contact. That she was having trouble with some people on that were tweeting about her and giving her a hard time because he was following me, and it was a mistake. And I just want to make it very clear of all the. There are a long list of people that I harmed here, but this poor woman was one of them as well, and I deeply regret that she got dragged into it.
Down your Twitter account? Like the perils of social media for public officials. Would you suggest that all public officials remove their Twitter account?
No, I suggest that not that people stop engaging with their constituents via social media, but not do dumb things like this that are dishonest to their families, that are deceitful to the press when they're asked about them, to not do things like this. There's nothing inherently wrong with social media. There's nothing inherently wrong with these outlets. What I did was a mistake.
You're going to shut down your Twitter account?
At no time did I or any member of my staff try to do anything to cover anything up. She did reach out to me and express how she'd been set upon, and I expressed my apologies to her, but there was no coaching of any sort going on. And it was basically me saying what I've said here today, which is how deeply sorry I am for what happened.
Because these women were admired, Congressman?
No, my staff has never had any contact with her. My staff did not know the actual story here. I had missed them as well. They only heard the full story kind of late this afternoon as I was getting ready to come over here. They've worked extraordinarily. They're another group of people that I have let down, but they knew nothing, and I deeply regret putting them into the circumstance of having to defend me when I knew myself.
Younger admirers of yours. Was there anything predatory about your behavior?
Look, the women that I have been in contact with without violating their privacy, they're not uniformly young women. I don't know their ages. But the people that I've had these engagements with on Facebook are not young per se.
Do you think that lying for more than a week, trying to cover up, blaming other people, constitutes a violation of your oath of office?
I am deeply sorry that I lied about this, but at the end of the day, I lied because I was embarrassed. I lied because I was ashamed of what I had done and didn't want to get caught. But did I violate the Constitution of the United States by lying about posting a Twitter post? I certainly don't think so, and I haven't spoken to anyone who did. But if people want to say that this is a violation of my oath because I sent a Twitter that I regretted and I lied about it, then obviously people are entitled to that viewpoint. Yes, ma'am.
Did you promise anything to these women?
I don't believe I'll use it the same way. That's for sure. And I deeply regret the way I've used it to date. But for my use of Twitter, I mean, it's something that I found useful, and Facebook is a way to get out the message. But I certainly wouldn't obviously do the things that I have done that led me to this place. Of course I would. Of course I would. No, I did not. I did not.
Will you help to support Arnold's love child?
Congressman.
Yes. They were inappropriate. They were part of consensual, exchanges of emails, and I don't want to violate the privacy of the women who were involved, but it was clearly a mistake and one that I deeply regret. Thank you.
Photo, were you fully erect?
What made you decide to
Were you fully erect or are you capable of more?